This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is Tuesday. That means it's time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn, and we are coming to you earlier than normal. How do you like that?
Oh, I think it's great.
Yeah, I like
I know
this
why.
time.
That's right. Hey, everybody! If you are listening here at 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, we are live, and we're recording earlier today because in case you don't know, and I can't imagine anyone who doesn't know this, the Cleveland Guardians are in the playoffs. And they got rained out last night against the hideous New York Yankees. Sorry, Yankees fans. And so they're playing this afternoon. So we're recording early so that we, as well as you, can catch the game. And hopefully
Absolutely.
we'll be celebrating the next time we talk. Of course, those of you who know me know that I spend an awful lot of time in Houston, Texas, and if the Guardians win, that's who they play next. So it's going to be, my life is going to be miserable if that happens for a while until they make it through. But you don't tune into What in the World to hear about sports unless you're listening to John DiNallo. And if you're looking at the screen on YouTube, you notice that it's just Karen and I today. John is having technical difficulties. Fortunately, his technician and lovely wife is working hard to get him on the air. So I think he should be here. I'm hoping he'll be here shortly. So, you're here at What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast, real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. We're here every week with the strangest, weirdest, and hopefully funniest news stories that I can find on the internet. These are all real stories, checked at multiple sources. So I'm not making anything up. Some of these stories, I wish I was clever enough to make up. I'm not.
Sure,
the
you
world is just
are.
full of strange things, right, Karen?
Right.
Weirdos out there, and that's my job. It's right about them. I also do it for mysteriousuniverse.org, where I'm the editor and head writer. And you can read some of the longer stories there, and the more serious, the more UFO paranormal oriented stories there as well. Here we try to just keep things light and fun and weird. That's almost our motto. So, almost, yeah. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. So I'm not gonna get up and get out of the camera range here. My notes on what we're talking about today are still on the printer.
Oh, okay.
So, but I do know that I've got a Bigfoot story, which is why I have my Bigfoot sweatshirt on. Bigfoot giving gifts. Beware of Bigfoot bearing gifts. That's the name of that story. So,
wow.
And from Michigan. So Karen, I know Karen's a former Michigander, so she'll be interested in that. I've got another couple of world record squashes, a pumpkin and a butternut squash we're going to talk about. Got a great story about astronauts seeing UFOs. And one, if Halloween is coming up, do you have your candy already yet, Karen?
No, because we don't get any kids that come to our door.
Really? Oh,
really?
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are in a kid-filled neighborhood, so we have 2 huge bags of candy that I certainly hope we throw it all out to because I don't want it sitting around here till Christmas. We do have some a local charity that we donate the rest of it to, so it doesn't go to waste. But that's kind of, is it really charity to give little kids candy so they get cavities and bad eating habits?
I never thought about that, but you know what? Maybe you shouldn't give it away, or maybe you should just feed it to the birds or the ducks.
Feed it. Oh yeah. Yeah, the birds and the ducks, right? They'll love it. I can just see the ponds filled with fat ducks with cavities in their beaks.
Yeah.
That sounds like a horror movie, Karen. I think we'll just pass on that.
Okay.
Let's get right to it here. I haven't seen John pop up here yet. I don't have any messages on my phone, so let's get right to some of these weird stories. So this is fresh off the internet today from my kids don't try this at home file. And you know that if I say kids don't try this at home, it's probably a story from Florida. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what this one is. So let's, where's my little arrow? The arrow, I'm supposed to be, there it is. There we go. Okay, so this lovely lady is in Florida. I don't know exactly where she's at, but she's on a body of water. Looks like a marsh or a river. And in her hand is a hot dog from from a package of hot dogs. And what she did was she's fishing for tarpon, which are a pretty big fish. They can get up to 300 pounds. They're really big fish.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, but that she's using an unusual technique to fish for tarpon. What she is doing is hanging off the back of the boat with the hot dog in her hand and trolling it in the water, hoping that a tarpon will jump out and eat the hot dog. Now, she doesn't appear to have a hook. She doesn't appear to have a net. I'm not sure what exactly it is that she's attempting to do to catch this tarpon, but she definitely knows how to attract it, because the second half of the picture shows a giant fish with not only the hot dog, but her hand in its mouth.
Like, did she survive this?
Good. The good news is, good question.
Yeah.
The good news is, the fish let go, and her hand was scratched and bleeding. But you know, the hot dog got the worst of it. The hot dog got the worst of it.
Oh.
Where's Bigfoot? Bigfoot says,
yeah,
he liked that joke. Yeah, no, her hand was a little chewed up from the fish, but otherwise she survived. And they figured it out that it was a male fish that grabbed the hot dog and bit her, because they noticed it swim off, and then it went to a school of other male fish, and it was bragging about how it stole this hot dog from this woman who was 8 feet tall and weighed 300 pounds.
Oh yeah.
You know, he totally exaggerated it, as male fishermen and apparently fish will do. So can you, Karen, this is absurd. Why would anyone think that this is there's no logic to it? There's
there's not.
No fun to it. This and it terrifies me to find out that fish like hot dogs. If I ever go swimming again in a lake, I'm wearing a cup underneath my swim trunks. That's all I got to say about that.
That was good. That was good.
So anyways, now another great story off the internet this week. And many of you know, many of the regular listeners know that I like to post stories on Facebook. So, you know, go to Facebook, I'm not sure if I can have any, I think I've reached my friends limit, but you can follow me, my page. And this story was really popular on Facebook, and you'll understand why. This comes from San Francisco, California. The One House Bakery in San Francisco baked something that they call the Pan Solo, Pan Solo, a life-size 6-foot bread sculpture of the Star Wars character Han Solo, as he appeared when he was frozen in carbonite in The Empire Strikes Back. Now, if you don't remember that epic scene, here is the bread, a picture of the bread. Han Solo was in like a vertical plane inside, captured inside, but you could still see his silhouette as he was frozen in the carbonite. So you saw his face and his hands kind of reaching out, and some of his body pressing through. So these two ladies that own this bakery decided they were going to make a Pan Solo and bake a life-size replica. Obviously, they used a face mask made out like Han Solo's face, but the rest of it they pretty much molded themselves, apparently, with their hands. So they already said if business takes off, if this brings people in, they're going to have some more Star Wars themed baking goods. For example, the Death by Chocolate Star, you know, the Death Star by the babka fett, rather than Boba Fett. And my favorite, the Obi-Wan cannoli. So, I think this is a great idea. And for your information, and I know you're wondering about this, Karen. I don't know if Han Solo was of the persuasion of the original religion, but Pan Solo is Jewish because this is made with unleavened bread.
Oh,
There's no yeast in it. There's no
Good.
yeast in it. I was thinking if they did they baked it in layers somehow. I don't know how they did that, but if they did have yeast in it, he'd be rising in various places. Which
yes, he would be. Yeah.
Yeah, they might not want to. It's the family show, family bakery. They might not want to show that. But they said that although it was edible, it's been shellacked to keep the birds and the squirrels away. So I thought, oh boy, that tastes just like Mom used to make. But I understand why they did it. And they also they wanted to preserve it so it lasts for a while.
Sure.
And I was thinking, if they wanted it to last pretty much forever, they should have made it out of Twinkie dough, because that stuff lasts. Forget the bread, unleavened bread, no yeast. They try that. And I didn't realize this. I didn't realize what Han Solo was frozen in. I knew it wasn't ice, but I couldn't remember if it was steel or tungsten or something. And it was carbonite, which means that Han Solo was the first cloud backup because he was uploaded into carbonite. Carbonite is a brand of backup software.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
For those with puzzled looks on their faces,
Yeah.
they stare at their iPhones as Karen is doing right now. So anyways, what a great idea these two ladies had. I think that was very clever. I've never worked in a bakery, but I do know how to bake, and I frequent bakeries quite a bit. Where do they find the time to do this while they're making all that great stuff that they should be making?
And it's huge.
It's huge. It really is. It's life size. It's unbelievable. I wonder. It is. I was trying to work it. His lips are open. I don't know. I keep thinking about that lady with the hot dog. She could come up and stick the hot dog in his lip, smoking a cigar, but that wouldn't work. So, anyways, all right, let's get to. This is speaking of food, I'll take that down there. We got another. I haven't seen John here lately.
Oh, I see. John is trying to get in.
Oh, he's attempting to get in. All right, good.
He is.
Let's. There looks like he may be on the screen here. Let's get into this story while we're waiting for his appearance. John, don't forget to hit that little button that shows your face.
Yeah, no problem.
Holy smoke. Wow, we're all.
I'm not sure who we have here.
We're getting overflowed with DiNallos here. Hey, there's John. How you doing?
Well, through the help of Annette, great, obviously. But,
good. We're glad you made it.
Well, thank you.
Back from Florida, by the way.
Oh yeah. It's great to be out here with 30-degree weather now, or 35 weather. But no, it's good to be back home. Good to be back home.
Good. Well, I've got a food store. You walked in right into a food store here. So really an outer space food store. You don't hear these too often. So this one comes from the University of California, Riverside. Astronomers there claim that they found a new way to discover if there's life on other planets. And what they look for is the presence of, get ready for this, broccoli. There's a gas, there's a gas emitted from broccoli, and I want to get this straight, methyl bromide, which is released by broccoli and also by microbes. So it helps them clean out the toxins in their system. So broccoli does that, these microbes do that. So methyl bromide can be detected on planets around M-dwarf size stars, which are a little smaller than our sun, because they produce less radiation that kills it in the atmosphere. Far more science than I know you were expecting. The important part is that to find life on other planets, you look for broccoli gas in the atmosphere. So my thinking is, now I understand why aliens are so happy to come to Earth. They're trying to get away from the broccoli. If you want to scare aliens away, it's going to be like vampires and garlic. Wear broccoli around your neck, and they're not going to bother you.
It's
Never thought of that.
It's in the same vein almost as our last story from Bluff the co-host last week about gas. And I tried to explain that to Annette, and she was not as livid as I was, but she was more just amazed by it. She was just amazed by the whole thing, right?
For those of you who missed the show last week, and I apologize, some of our audio podcasters are a little behind on their podcast. New Zealand is taxing the flatulence of cows and sheep in order to pay for machines that extract the methane that they generate. And John was very adamant that he couldn't understand why that this was a real story and why would they do it. And
I was beside myself. I just leave
you
it
were beside all of us, John. You were beside half the people listening.
I think so. I really had to calm down after that. I really did.
So anyway,
boy.
So billionaires in space. We've done a number of stories about billionaires in space. Now here's one. This guy was the first billionaire in space. His name is Dennis Tito. And Dennis was another one of these computer billionaires. He was the first private space tourist. He paid Russia, not the United States. He paid Russia $1 billion in order to be able to fly on the Soyuz capsule to the International Space Station and spent, I think, 4 or 5 days up there. Now, wow. He was a trained engineer, if I'm not mistaken. So he actually conducted some experiments up there. He wasn't just sitting around bothering the astronauts like we would.
I would say that would be our MO for sure.
So get a load of this. He's got so much money. He has invested another $1 billion. He purchased a ticket for himself and his wife, Akiko is her name, to ride on a SpaceX Starship to circle around the moon. SpaceX is planning this first mission, and they're gonna shoot a spaceship into space, send it to the moon, circle around it, and come back. And he bought 2 tickets for that trip. All I can say is, and he's taking his wife, which is interesting.
A noble gesture for sure.
Noble gesture, John. That's right. Somewhere in the afterlife, Ralph Cramden's wife is asking him, now, where is this couple going? And he says, to the moon, Alice, to the moon.
It's a great segue, Paul. That's a great segue. I love it. I love it.
First thing I thought of when I read that story.
For sure.
Now,
oh boy,
what show is that from? We're of the age.
The Honeymooners.
Yeah.
Honeymooners. That's right. So let's do a little time for a little trivia here on the Honeymooners. That was Ralph Cramden regularly threatened his wife that he would physically use part of his body to send her to the moon, something that you could not do on television today. But I don't know if you can even do it in movies, and rightly so. Not exactly the thing. But he was, if you remember, he early in the and there was only 39 episodes of the Honeymooners ever made. Early in that group, he would say it frequently to the. He wouldn't say he was going to hit her. He just said, to the moon, Alice, to the moon. Then he didn't even have to say it. He would just abbreviate. He would say, bang, zoom. And he'd show his fist and everybody knew what he was talking about. So I thought, and Alice never shirked away, never said anything. But she knew he wasn't going to do it, because ultimately at the end they were like Dennis Tito and his wife. They were in love with each other, and he would never do something like that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I remember the show. Yeah, sure.
Great show. 39 episodes. I couldn't believe it. So that was a common theme throughout the show. It was made in 1956. All 39 episodes were filmed in 1956.
Really?
On TV to this day. Isn't that amazing? It started, Jackie Gleason had a show before that, and he would do the Honeymooners sketches. And they said, wow, this is a great idea. The Dumont television network back in those days. So they put him on for one season, and then they never picked him up. So he started his own show again, the Jackie Gleason Show, and he continued the sketches on there with Art Carney and Jane Meadows and
sure.
Jane Keane, Audrey Meadows and Jane Keane. So they were. This is. I was looking up some trivia on it. The Dumont Network filmed in Manhattan for an audience of 1,000 people. So they would have 1,000 people every week for the show. They were never rehearsed. They were filmed live, and Ralph Cramden Jackie Gleason did not want them to rehearse because he wanted spontaneous humor and spontaneous reaction from the actors and the actresses. So they made mistakes and they forgot their lines. So they finally had to work out signals for themselves when someone forgot their line. So if you watch the episodes and you see Ralph Cramden pat himself on the stomach and not say anything, that means he forgot his line. And somebody would pick it up, they'd say, well, Ralph, you were going to say to the moon.
Oh, good one. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Wow.
And Audrey Meadows, when someone forgot their line, she would look at the refrigerator, which was an ice box back to show you how far back that went. And or if they were supposed to say something about an object, she would look at the object, and hopefully they would remember. Well, you were gonna go to the icebox and get a sandwich, weren't you, Ralph? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
This, other than Saturday Night Live, there are no shows that are recorded live. And Saturday Night Live, I know, tries very hard to avoid mistakes and avoid breaking up. So unbelievable that I miss that. I think that would be a nice thing to have in sitcoms, especially.
It would be a nice departure from what sitcoms are now.
Yes.
There are some good sitcoms, I think.
Yeah.
But again, they're not live, and they run a short duration because these seasons are not long. And I am surprised you said it was 39 seasons, Paul, because 39 episodes.
39 episodes, yeah.
I would think there was a lot more than that. I just, but
it's
interesting.
Our memory.
But you failed to tell us, Paul, that the Honeymooners was the influence for the Flintstones.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
True.
Good point.
That is very true. Yes.
Very good point. Yeah. Well, another one. I don't know if Fred ever said something like to the moon. I'd have to. This is a whole different episode. We could do a whole episode on the Flintstones.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I think
all those inventions that they had. The record player that was a bird with whose beak was the needle.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oh yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, I'm glad that John was able to join us, because John, as you noticed, I have my Bigfoot sweatshirt on there, which is my signal to remember that I've got a Bigfoot story.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm disappointed when there's not a Bigfoot story. So I'm happy that there is one. I'm happy that there is one.
you and all my Mysterious Universe readers, because they love stories about Bigfoot. So here you go. This is from Michigan. Oh, and I do have a photo. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
So this is from the Upper Peninsula. So this guy, his name is Casey Dostert. Casey lives in the Upper Peninsula, as I mentioned, claims he has been, not only has he seen Bigfoot, but he exchanges gifts with Bigfoot. And he's been doing it for the past 2 years, which means they must be exchanging like for birthdays, maybe for Christmas. Possibly Bigfoot may have some religious holiday that that he or she participates in. So what he does is he brings bagels to Bigfoot and leaves them on a special rock, which he calls the gifting rock. And then he takes videos of the whole thing, puts it on TikTok, of course. And then Bigfoot brings him gifts in return. So it appears there's other Bigfoot that he doesn't gift with. And it appears that his Bigfoot is regifting. because a lot of them are complaining that they're getting stale bagels for their birthday, and where he's getting them from. But I want to show you. I promised to show John a picture of this particular Bigfoot. Let's see, John, you missed this story right here of Pan Solo. There we go. Okay, so there, I think you can see the Bigfoot in that photo there, John.
Oh, I see some eyes.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
well, I have to say, on first blush, it's hard to really distinguish exactly what that is. I mean, to me, okay, there's obviously foliage in the foreground here, right? And there's a tree, it appears to be, but there is no way that you tell me that that is. I mean, it could be a creature, it could be an animal or what have you, but
yeah. Well,
but it fits.
Use your imagination. There's
but I hate to be the dissenter again, as I always am. But to me, it's not clear, and it's really par for the course, so to speak. I mean, these photos are always like this. To me, there's nothing that's defined to say that's Bigfoot.
Okay. All right, John. We'll give you credit for that one. Yeah, you're right. It's another one of those typical not much detail other than two bright eyes, which are white instead of red. Normally Bigfoot eyes are red.
Right.
But this guy insists that he has been meeting with Bigfoot and exchanging gifts with Bigfoot for the past 2 years. In fact, Bigfoot leaves him not bagels, because Bigfoot obviously eats the bagels, but as he calls them, simple handicrafts, which I'm wondering what kind of handicraft would Bigfoot make? Like what kind of crafts would Bigfoot maybe make? Pot holders out of leaves and sticks or something like that? Or what else could Bigfoot do to be the equivalent of a gift of bagels, fresh bagels? Maybe with a schmear.
I'm sure it has something to do with apples.
So it have to have something to do with apples.
Yep.
That's always.
Okay.
Bigfoot likes apples. That's right.
Bigfoot does like apples. That's
right. And then what if Bigfoot gets tired of apples? Where does he go? He gets the bagels at the gifting rock. Then he goes to the gifting return rock, where he leaves the bagels, maybe gets something else for equal value. What would equal value of a bagel be? A donut? I don't know.
Oh no.
It would be sweeter. It would be sweeter, obviously.
There you go, John. As always, you've got a good point. And I was thinking of you, John. I'm not doing this story on What in the World, but I did on Mysterious Universe. There's a new book out called Searching for Sasquatch, and it's written for middle schoolers, kids ages 8 to 12. And this lady's great-great-grandfather went looking for Bigfoot. He was an anthropologist. So she wants to teach kids the scientific method, which means, as John does, using logic in order to discern whether a photograph is real or not. But she wants the enticement that you could be looking for Bigfoot and you could discover Bigfoot. But in the meantime, use scientific logic. And then she gives various examples of types of things to do. Really a clever idea. I give her 100% credit for that.
Yeah, it's a good idea for her to do that.
Yeah,
sure. Google
Searching for Sasquatch, or take a look at mysteriousuniverse.org for the article that I wrote about her. This is a trivia one for John here, since he's here. See if you know this song, John, if you know the artist. So this has to do with North Carolina, the Outer Banks. I believe that's North Carolina. It might be South Carolina.
No, it's North
Carolina. Well, why does Carolina get 2 states? I don't like that idea. Carolina only needs 1 state. And that's a different show. So they've been hearing this mysterious boom. Now, both of the Carolinas have this boom that they hear occasionally, which they call the Seneca guns. Now, why do they call it the Seneca guns? Had nothing to do with North Carolina or South Carolina, but there's a lake in New York called Seneca Lake, which also has mysterious booms. So they call theirs the Seneca guns because they sound like guns. North Carolina and South Carolina don't have enough imagination to come up with their own ideas. Sorry, my friends, listeners in the Carolinas, but
they're kind of sponging off of New York. They're sponging.
Yeah, they're sponging off of New York. That's right. Come up with your own
Let's
name.
not go there, guys.
so they're complaining. They're complaining that they're hearing these booms, these mysterious booms, and no one in the government or the military can explain any of them. There's only one person in North and South Carolina who has no problem with the booms, and that person is Pat Travers. Now, John, who is Pat Travers?
Okay, is he a country singer?
Oh, you got the singer part right. I'll give you credit for that. You get 99% on that one. He's a singer. Pat Travers' band was big in the 70s and 80s. They lasted for well over maybe 30 years, even though they were a one-hit wonder. And their one hit has to do with this song right here. Now, there was a word that I said in there many, many, many times, and that particular word is used all the way through the Pat Travers song.
I'm trying to think of the.
I'm not going to give you the word because that'll give it away.
Well, sure, understand.
I'm sure Bigfoot knows, right? Oh, Bigfoot's thinking hard.
Sure. It sounds like he's not sure. Bigfoot.
All right, I'll give you the word.
Yeah, I'm going to give up.
The word is boom, and the song is boom, boom, out go the lights.
Oh, okay. All right. Know the song. I couldn't tell you.
Karen doesn't remember that one.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a staple of classic radio. Boom, boom, out go the light. Although, like Ralph Cramden, it could not be recorded now because it's about hitting his girlfriend. I think, oh my God, yeah. Here's the line. It's a very simple song for those of you out there. It goes like this: no kidding. I'm ready to fight. I've been looking for my baby all night. I get her in my sights. Boom, boom, out go the lights.
Oh my God.
Now you could say, oh, well, maybe he's looking for who she's with because she left him and he's going to hit that guy. I don't know. Either way,
to our imagination. It's all left to our imagination, Karen and Paul. I mean, it's left to our imagination, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I got a couple of we love doing world records. So I've got a couple of world records for us here. This one comes from Minnesota. I've got photos, don't worry. So better than the one of Bigfoot, John. So thanks. Travis Ganger, he's a horticultural teacher in Minnesota. So he knows his stuff. He set a new world record with a 2,560-pound pumpkin. 2,560-pound pumpkin. If you want to see what that looks like, that's Bigfoot right there. There it is right there.
Oh my.
So, massive. It's like the size of a small car. In the 49th World Championship Pumpkin Weigh-Off in Half Moon Bay, which is south of San Francisco. So I'm looking at this giant thing, and I'm thinking, I think I saw something like that in front of Walmart. But it was just the door greeter.
Oh boy.
I know. Okay. Send your cards and letters to Karen. I did a fat check.
Thanks.
It could have been worse because I could have said, but I knew it wasn't a person because it didn't have yoga pants on. Any typical Walmart customer. Anyway, this guy, now, if you remember, I said he lives in Minnesota. He drove 35 hours straight with this pumpkin in his truck. Not only did he drive it with it in his trunk, but he had special preparation. It was wrapped in plastic and wet blanket, which I'm sure reminds a lot of you of your vacations when you were a kid and your little brother wasn't potty trained yet. But he wrapped this 2,500-pound pumpkin in plastic and wet blanket. If that's not gross enough for you, I'll get to the next story. So he won the contest with this massive pumpkin. This is only the North American record pumpkin. Europe has a bigger one, And once they set the record for the year, we'll talk about that. Now, there was another squash record set over the weekend. This one's much smaller yet bigger in when you find out what it is. That's a butternut squash. And Derek Ruthruff of Charlotte, Michigan. Do you know where that is, Karen? Charlotte, Michigan?
No
Pretty
idea.
name. Okay, Charlotte, Michigan. He set a Guinness World Record with this gargantuan butternut squash, weighed at 104 pounds. Now, an average butternut squash is just a couple pounds. This thing is massive, 104 pounds. He set the record in Dundee, Michigan. Do you know where that is? Dundee?
Yeah, that's sort of near Ann Arbor.
Is it really? Okay,
Yeah.
Dundee. He set it at the annual Dundee Pumpkin Palooza.
Oh,
That's what I wanted. I just wanted to
That's a
mention
nice
that.
alliteration in there. That's a nice
There you go.
alliteration.
I believe I saw an ad for the Pumpkin Palooza. They have a band at the end, the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh.
Yeah, I know that one was, even Bigfoot didn't like that one.
Yeah, I'm with Bigfoot on that one.
Yeah, I agree. Now, in order to grow this pumpkin, he planted it in April, and in July, get ready for this, he hand pollinated it. Now, use your imagination. How on earth do you hand pollinate a pumpkin plant? Do you have to put your hand inside of a bee puppet in order to fake it? Do you do you have to buy a dinner first? Do you have to get it drunk? How do you pollinate a butternut squash?
I'm right with you on that, Paul. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. If somebody
have
out
an
there
answer?
knows,
Do you have
somebody
an
else is
answer
a
for that?
horticulturalist, I'd be happy to entertain any suggestions. But,
I think we should have a prize if somebody comes up with the right answer.
The right answer or the best answer? I'd
Okay,
go
the
for
best answer. Yeah.
Yeah, well, who's talking about being accurate here? We want to have something.
There you go. Okay, so I wanted to get to this story. This is, and you'll understand why in a minute. This is the best places to buy a haunted house. I know I've never been in the market for a haunted house. I've never lived in a haunted house. I've been in both the fake kind that have come up around Halloween, and also the real kind that people believe are possessed by spirits of some sort. Believe it or not, there's people who go out of their way to buy haunted houses. They want to live in them. And this company called, I've got it in here somewhere, we'll get to it eventually, homeadvisor.com said they would do a study. And they did a study and they found the best places, best states to buy a haunted house and also to buy a creepy house, which I didn't know is different than a haunted house. A creepy house is has been the victim of crime, damage, drugs, or bad reports, whereas a haunted house has all of those plus a ghost. So there's the difference right there.
Ghost feature, right?
There you go.
Sure,
Yeah.
Sure.
So they went looking for things. The real estate agents, the number one thing they look for is location, location, location. If you're looking for a haunted house, you're looking for crime, murder, mysterious death, mayhem, and ghosts. Those are the signs of a haunted house. They use a service, and I can't believe that this actually exists. The Home Advisor used a service called housecreep.com. And you go there to check out the history of your house. So if you want to know if anyone's ever been murdered in your house, this is one for you, John.
I don't know. I'm going to have to say that we're the original owners. So I mean, so unless there were spirits that were like around our yard, before we built the house, then maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe we should look up your house and see.
Well, if you find bad news, don't tell me or Annette that. Just
heck no, we wouldn't do that.
Okay, out of the loop on that one.
So anyway, so they use this service and they found all the top places for these creepy and haunted houses. The top 5 states for haunted houses, which is what I wanted to get to here, is Number 2, at the top of the list, New Jersey. Number 2, Ohio, our own home state. Number
Really?
2 on the list of haunted houses. Number 3, New York, followed by New Hampshire and Massachusetts. If you're just looking for a creepy house, you go to Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, or North or South Dakota. And since we've already said these states with north and south should only be one state, number 6 was Delaware. So
No, the last group of states are all not densely populated. Maybe
those are
Delaware,
not densely populated.
but
So
not
ghosts
densely
must not.
populated, which is kind of interesting, right?
Very good correlation there, John. They're very good correlation. If there's not a lot of people, there's not going to be a lot of ghosts, but
Right.
still creepy houses. So a lot of
Uh-huh.
creeps, just not a lot of dead creeps.
As we draw the distinction, right? Oh,
Okay, so the list is top heavy with New England states because New England was settled before any place else.
mhm, right. Sure.
So some signs that your house may be haunted: abrupt temperature changes. Now, very few southern houses made the list, and I lived in the South for a number of years, and the South is air conditioned, so it's always, houses are always cold. Summer, winter, it doesn't matter. They're always cold. They're rarely heated. So you can't tell if there's a temperature change in there. So I'll buy that. Something about being near other haunted houses. People get the power of suggestion. They think, oh, well, the house across the street is haunted. Maybe ours is too. Pets act strange when they go into a haunted house. So if you're looking for a haunted house and you're going on house hunting trips to open houses, call ahead and ask if you can bring your dog. If your dog rolls over with their feet up in the air or runs out the door,
That's your first sign. That's your
there's a
first sign.
sign. That's right. If you're looking for a sign. Now, I was a little upset about their comment about Ohio. They said, while Ohio seems tame enough at first glance, it's actually home to 125 haunted houses, according to the service. And one unpopular theory is that it's all in their imagination because Ohio is a boring state. Well, I'm sorry. Ohio is not a boring state.
You are correct. It is not.
So that's not it at all. Now, I think that it's because Ohio has a lot of old homes. Okay, we would prefer to renovate rather than tear down and build. So old homes have drafts and have had many people living in them, so their chances are higher for someone to have passed on and decided to haunt the house. They have creaks and groans and noises and all that stuff. So anyway, another sign that your house is haunted: things start flying across the room. Could also mean that time to call a counselor, but normally it's look for those and you think you might have a ghost in your house. So let's see, New Jersey, trust your gut. They said if you walk into a house and you just feel weird and you're not looking for a haunted house, then you should leave. If you're looking for a haunted house, then you talk to your realtor. And this is where it gets important. You say to your realtor, look, I want to buy this because I think it's haunted. And your realtor, if they're a good realtor, will say, okay, what we'll do is we'll start complaining about the drafts and the noises and all the things that you're hearing. And ask the people, hey, look, we'll buy this, but don't say it's haunted. Just say, hey, there's all this stuff here. You don't need to repair it. Just knock off $10,000 or $20,000 and we'll take it off your hands. Right. John, I think, would you say that's a reasonable
yeah, that seems like a
negotiating point?
Negotiating point. Sure, exactly. I mean, you're not getting
flickering, like the lights are flickering on and off,
yeah,
tell them that electrical problems,
Right,
don't worry,
exactly.
we won't bring in an inspector. We'll just knock off $20,000. And next thing you know, you own a haunted house. How about that?
Well, if that's what you're into, then I guess.
There you go. Well, apparently, you're interested in that turned out to be a popular story. Now, I'm watching our time here because I know everybody wants to get to that game. I want to mention this just briefly. I won't go into details. Again, you can go to Mysterious Universe and look for the big story. But all three of us and many of our listeners in podcast land are of the same age, and we grew up during the space age. And many of us were in school when we actually stopped school and either listened to or watched on television launches Gemini and Apollo and the moon launch and all those things. So there was a name that came up in the news this week. James McDivitt. James McDivitt passed away last week at the age of 93. He was on a Gemini mission and on an Apollo mission. And he was one of the second group of astronauts. And I'm mentioning these names: McDivitt, Neil Armstrong, Frank Borman, Pete Conrad, Jim Lovell, Elliot C., Tom Stafford, Ed White, and John Young. Many of those people went to the moon. So that group of 9 people, most of them went to the moon, circled the moon, walked on the moon. Big prestigious group of astronauts. Jim McDivitt circled the moon in a Gemini mission. But the reason why I bring him up today is because in Apollo, when he was in Gemini with Ed White, who was also in that group, he saw a UFO. And I have a photo of the UFO that I wanted to share with you. So he was the first astronaut to publicly state during a flight and afterwards that he had seen a UFO looking out the window. And he said, it looks like a beer can or a pop can with a little thing like maybe a pencil or something sticking out of it. So that was his description of this particular UFO. And I want to show you the picture of, there it is right there. So that's what he was talking about. Now, he had a movie camera. So this is back in 1963. So the quality is bad. He's looking through a thick window that's covered with dirt and debris and alien spit and whatever else is out there. So, but there it is right there. Now, word got out that he had seen something, and the reporters were lined up. They wanted to see the photo. They wanted to question him, and NASA jumps in and they pulled him away, and they wouldn't let him answer any question. So, but for a long time, he went through saying that he firmly believed that he saw something that he could not explain, and that he believed that we were not the only beings in the universe, and that he and many of the astronauts that he went into space with and later shared stories with believed in extraterrestrials and believed that we were being visited by creatures, by beings in spaceships that looked like a beer can.
It looks like a beer can, but it looks like a metal object, obviously.
It looks like a metal object. That's right. It looks like a metal tube, like a plane without wings.
Right.
So if you want some more, I did a detailed listing of many of the astronauts who saw UFOs on the Mysterious Universe. John Glenn saw one, saw snowflakes that he thought were UFOs. Gordon Cooper, the 2 different space shuttle missions saw a number of UFOs that they could not explain. And many of the astronauts believed that NASA made a concerted effort to suppress the news about the UFO in order to keep the public in the dark. So I do a lot of stories about that in Mysterious Universe. I'm of the opinion that the government keeps us in the dark about an awful lot of things. So I would not be surprised if we were kept in the dark about that as well. Okay.
Sorry to sneeze. Excuse me.
I thought that was so. Jim Levitt, God bless you. Rest in peace. And Jim Levitt. McDivitt. Thank you, John. John Lovitz was on Saturday Night Live. He was not an astronaut. Thank God. Okay, so we've reached the point in our show which we're rushing through quickly to get through sport, to get to watching sports, to What in the World of Sports with John DiNallo, and we're so glad he made it on time to participate in this segment of the show. Every week I ask John to find a weird sport that fits with the theme of What in the World, and he always manages to find one, and he's got one this week. So this is one, Karen, that all of us can participate in.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Maybe have already participated in it.
Maybe not formally doing it.
There you go. So John, why don't you get started while I line up your photos for you?
Oh, sounds good, Paul. Sounds good. Okay, folks, here's what we have this week. So our sport this week is pea shooting.
What did I tell you, Karen? Pea shooting.
Pea shooting, but wait, most people have heard the phrase pea shooting or pea shooter. But most people, especially those who were once young boys, have made pea shooters out of straws or actually big pens or hollow tubes, and actually puffed a hard pea, a paper wad, or other projectile at a target, or more commonly, the unsuspecting person.
There you go. Usually a sibling.
Oh, well, and also your classmates in grade school.
Your classmates. That's
Classmates in grade school, and I'm not gonna convict myself.
Don't mention any names, John.
I'm not gonna. It's a good bet. Now here it is, but it's a good bet that all these people that did pea shooting, they didn't realize they were participating in an actual sport. Let me
A real
explain.
sport. Okay.
Let me explain. Every year since 1971, the best pea shooters in the world have descended on the small city of Witcham, Cambridgeshire, England, for the eagerly anticipated World Pea Shooting Contest. It is held at the White Horse Pub, where on the second Saturday of July each year, participants can purchase a bag of dried maple peas and enter the contest.
That sounds good.
There are standards here, okay? Explain. In the interest of avoiding cheating, the contestants cannot use pre-smooth peas or bring their own. So there's
smooth peas.
Well, there is such a thing as pre-smooth peas I discovered in this research. Now, there is no paper straw competition. Many contestants, most of them use are carbon fiber tubes to shoot their peas, and they're allowed also to modify them to improve their performance.
Now, while John is talking about this, I've been showing a couple of photos of the pea shooters, the modified high-tech pea shooters. These are unbelievable. This guy has his pea shooter has appendages sticking out all over the place to steady it with his chin.
Yes.
It's made of metal. It's got a handle underneath, so it looks nothing like a straw. He even has some sort of little glass windshield, I guess, in case somebody fires up. There's some kind of backfire or something, so he doesn't get.
That's like a small windscreen of some kind.
Yeah.
So go on, John.
Okay. So wait a minute. So where this person,
by the way, these are from the World Peace Championship, because the guy has a shirt on that says it.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
Exactly.
So that makes it official.
He's got the years emblazoned on there. Look at that. So anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So wait. So where these gentlemen are going and what they're shooting at, okay, these peas are shot at a putty covered 1 foot diameter target. And the person must be exactly 12 feet away from the target. There is no variance on that. You have to be 12 feet away from the target.
Now, about the size of a garbage can lid.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, Paul, for sure. Now, you may see this. The people that are able to view the video can see this. Each target has 3 concentric rings, which are clearly displayed on it. As for the scoring, 5 points are awarded for hitting the center ring. 3 points are awarded for hitting the intermediate ring, and then 1 point for the outer ring. Competitors receive a score based on the total of their 5 best shots. So it's not clear if there's a lot more than 5, but that's what they're judged on, is the best 5 pea shoots that they have, so to speak. Now,
these aren't green, by the way. For those of you who are interested, they're kind of brownish. Would you say they're maple peas?
Maple peas. I didn't know there was a distinction as that, but that's what it's maple peas. Now, and so the prize for winning the World Pea Shooting Contest is the coveted John Tyson Shield, and it's named for the head schoolmaster. There's a person in action right there.
There you go.
So it's named for a head schoolmaster in England who started the pea shooting championships as a fundraising event in 1971. Now, the proceeds, from the contest or championships are used to maintain and upkeep the village hall. So it goes to a good cause. It turns out Tyson's inspiration for the event came from the peas and shooters he confiscated from his school children that he was overseeing. So he decides to to create this sport based on pilfering or taking away the pea shooters from his kids.
Good idea. Now, this is highly competitive here. There's a number of trophies here, and I want to get to they also have like a shield. That's the shield that John's talking about. Yeah. Very nice looking shield, but far bigger than a belt buckle or something. It's more like a big time, a World Wrestling Federation kind of thing.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
I believe that's the winner there.
Right, that would be that. Okay, so anyway, but people come from all over the world to be part of the World Pea Shooting Contest, and there are people that come as far as from New Zealand.
Wow.
Go to England, and also from the U.S. Typically, 150 participants are involved in each year's proceedings, and the championship is dominated by a traditionalist, because as Paul was showing, there are some high-tech pea shooters and some basic ones, but Jim Collins, who uses a simple traditional pea shooter, and then there's also a gentleman, Ian Ashmead, whose picture riding a horse while firing his pea shooter is on the white. Wait a minute, there it is. It's on the White Horse Pub sign. So
he's won like 4 or 5 years, not in a row. He's won a couple years in a row.
Yes,
so they
put
his picture on the pub sign.
He's the icon of the sport right now. He's the guy. Now, as we close it up here, pea shooting is a fun sport for all ages. Like Paul was saying, all three of us could participate. It doesn't take
women
much.
too. There's some women participating.
Yeah, right. Sure. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. But the World Pea Shooting Contest, it is a serious competition. But if you decide that you come to the competition, do not come hungry, or you could become penalized.
Oh, penalized. Oh.
Penalized. PEA, penalized.
There you go. That's right.
All right, gang. There it is.
Bigfoot. Bigfoot says, good one there, John.
Right.
So here we have it. I can't believe it. Pea shooting, real championship pea shooting here.
It's a competition.
We could do this.
This is a sport we could do. There's not many.
This looks like a fun fall activity. People are going
exactly.
Or a picnic game, a picnic competition. I think that would be great. I don't know, and they obviously spend a lot of money on these, high tech pea shooters with handles and rifle sights, and it's unbelievable.
The thing that really struck me, though, Paul, if I could offer this, is it really comes down, I think, to your lung capacity. I mean, obviously, because if you have if you don't have a chance to get enough breath going or whatever, right? I don't care how tech the shooter is, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, there was a time, John, when you and I had that kind of breath, the powerful lungs. Back when we were in college, John and I were fraternity brothers in college together. And I don't know if you remember this, but we tried to organize a pea shooting contest at our college. Yeah. I'm sure there was no pub, but there was a Rathskeller involved.
Which we know about.
We obtained some beverages. Yeah. And then we attempted to organize a pea shooting contest. Unfortunately, it quickly evolved into something that looked more like this, but more of a food fight than any type of.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I can now my memory is jarred. Okay, and now it's kind of.
Yeah, we probably should have kept with peas and not all the other kinds of food that we see flying around here. The typical food.
My gosh.
Oh. Anyway, there is a bowl of peas there, so that
right, exactly. Well,
fits. Our professional pea shooting from the World Pea Shooting Contest in England, of course, sponsored by a pub, of course. As always, John, great sport. Thank you so much for that one.
You're welcome, Karen and Paul. You're very welcome.
Now that means if we're done with sports, that means it's time for everybody's favorite game show. What was it again? Bluff the co-host. I have notes here. Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. If you've never played or haven't listened to the podcast, the rules are simple. I have 3 stories similar to the ones we've been telling all afternoon. One big difference, those were all real. These may be real, may be a bluff, and it's up to you, John and Karen, to decide which are real, which are bluffs. Betting is allowed. Place your bets. John and Karen, put your hand on the buzzers. Let's get right to story number 1. Setting a world record is a cause for a celebration. Reaching a milestone birthday is another cause for a celebration. A man in Italy recently did both. He reached his 100th birthday and he set a world record for putting the most lit birthday candles in his mouth along with a piece of birthday cake. According to the Guinness rules, the double record was set with no help from his proud relatives. The centenarian first put a small piece of chocolate cake in his mouth, then the candles. He quickly lit them with a lighter, then posed for photos. When he got the thumbs up from the judges, he spit the candles into a bucket of water, showed the judges the cake in his mouth, chewed it, swallowed it, and accepted his certificate. He then blew out the candles on the rest of the cake and celebrated his birthday and the world record. So the man who set 100-year-old man set the record by shoving 100 lit birthday candles and a tiny piece of cake into his mouth. What do you say, Karen and John? Real or bluff?
You said this was in Italy?
Italy, yes.
For some reason, I'm going to say it's true. I have no idea why, but because it took place in Italy, I'm going to say true.
Okay, a statement on Italians.
Yeah.
All right. Karen says that's a real story. John, how about you? Our designated Italian on the show.
I am Italian on the show. I'm proud of it. But let me ask you a question, Paul. He has 100 candles in his mouth.
That's what it says.
100 candles in his mouth. Now, I'm going to say it's completely false. And I'm going to pray it's completely false because if a person is 100 years old, okay, he's going to have 100 candles? No, that's preposterous.
Maybe he took his teeth out. But did you consider he could have taken his teeth out, John?
No, I understand.
You want to reconsider on your answer?
So that would create more area. Okay, it's 100. Okay, it's not 10. It's 100.
100. Okay, all right.
False. It's got to be false.
So John says that the man who set the record for 100 candles, lit candles in his mouth, is a bluff. Karen says it's real. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, "Congratulations, John. That is a bluff." The world record, believe it or not, for the most candles in your mouth, John, is 150 lit candles. Yeah, 150 lit candles.
Now, the person who did that, do you have any description on the person who did that, Paul, by any chance? I mean,
middle-aged man.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
Believe it or not, yeah, middle-aged man.
It's more plausible.
Age count. When it comes to putting candles in your mouth, age count. Okay, we got it, John.
It's a
All right, well, John is ahead 1-0.
Right?
There you go. Okay, let's get right to story number 2. Hands on the buzzers. A bag of Lay's potato chips from the grocery store won't put you in debt, but a bag of Lay's potato chips from a clothing store in Italy will. In a deal with Frito-Lay, a designer of high-end leather purses has created a line of Lay's potato chip handbags that look exactly like the real thing, except for the price. These Lay's leather purses sell for a whopping $1,800 a piece, and there's no buy one, get one free deal on these bags. Nonetheless, after debuting at a recent Paris fashion show, the designer is swamped with orders for all 3 Frito-Lay leather bags, regular, barbecue, and ranch. That's $1,800, chips not included. They can't afford just one. All right, so Karen and John, Lay's potato chip leather bags, leather handbags, $1,800 a piece. What do you say, real or bluff? John, we'll go to you first.
Well, I'm going to say that this is a real story, and my logic behind it is people that have a lot of wealth, okay, an $1,800 Frito-Lay bag or what have you, leather bag, it would be a novelty. And I'm going to say that people would, I would say people of that ilk would like to have the distinction to have
Okay.
something like that. I'm going to say it's true.
Also in Italy, Italians.
Another Italian.
They don't put birthday candles in their mouth, but they will buy $1,800 leather lace.
You know, those Italians, they're very impetuous and, very impressed by a lot of different things. So yeah, I'm going to say it's true.
Okay. John says it's real. Karen, how about you?
Okay, so you fooled me once. But I don't think this is true. No, I doesn't sit right with me. So I'm
No.
gonna say false.
Karen says it's a bluff. I'm not even going to ask you if you would buy one. I already know the answer to that. Okay. So Karen says that the leather Lay's potato chip bags are a bluff. John says they're real. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say, congratulations, John. You're 2-0. That's a real story. Yeah. Hard to believe. $1,800.
Okay.
I know.
I want to see one of these purses.
Okay. Google it.
Okay, I will.
Sure.
All three of them, all three flavors.
Karen, one thing you might want to look at is ask Paul are the judges Italian by any chance? I mean, maybe.
Oh, good question. I'll have to.
You're getting a bias that way, right?
Yeah.
I'll have to check with them. Yeah, it just so happened. Those a couple of stories from Italy. Okay, well that means the score is 2-0. But John, don't get complacent there because points are doubled in round number 3. And
I'm well aware of that.
Roaring back to
I might guard.
tie the score. Okay, so let's get to story number 3. Most people know what to do when a toilet backs up, but what do you do when someone backs up into your toilet? That's what happened in Japan recently when a driver accidentally backed up his truck into that country's oldest public communal toilet. The 500-year-old wooden bathroom is located at a temple and was empty at the time, but the driver sure could have used it after seeing what he did. Fortunately, the monks at the temple say the toilet, which seats 20, can be repaired once they flush out all the debris, wipe the floor, and plunge into the pit below to make sure nothing important fell in. All right, so public 500-year-old toilet in Japan that was backed into by a driver. Fortunately, it can be repaired. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
Wait a second. How many people did you say could sit on the toilet?
20. It's a communal toilet. 20.
Communal
And it's
toilet.
Japan. Yes, it's Japan.
Oh my God.
Not Italy.
Goodness. Thank goodness. Wait a minute. If it's communal, I mean, are there separators or what? I mean,
Well, I don't know, John. I can't give you that answer. You might figure it out from that.
I'm just hoping that there is.
I don't
might
think
figure
there
it out.
is.
Oh my God. No.
Okay.
I can't answer any more questions. I can't. I'm sorry.
I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to say this is a bunch of BS.
Okay. I'm not even good. We won't go there. It's a family show, family podcast. Okay. So Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
I'm gonna say it's true. And I'm gonna say, wait a minute. I'm gonna say it's true because I'm sure that there are bad drivers in Japan, and I'm sure there's probably structures that are 500 years old. The question is, would the driver back up into the toilet? But I'm gonna say it's a real story. I'm going to say it's real.
Okay.
I'm going with some instinct on this one. No logic. I'm going with instinct.
No logic. Okay. No logic.
No logic whatsoever.
Somebody in Japan backed into a 500-year-old 20-hole toilet. And John says that's a real story, Karen. He said it's a real story. Can you believe that?
You're going to tell me he's right.
Let's check with the judges. The Italian judges say, congratulations, John, you're 3-0 this week.
Oh, my God.
Story.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And by the way, there are no separators. It's one big room.
Yeah, boy, that's a bad visual when you think about it.
It's certainly nicely decorated. It's monks. They have nothing better to do.
Oh, my gosh.
Paintings. Oh, it's gorgeous. It was a sad picture to see this poor toilet run over by a truck. So fortunately, they'll be able to put it back together.
Like Humpty Dumpty. Yes.
On
Okay.
that note, I think
Right, put back together again. That's right. Very good. Okay.
for many of you, I'm sure we've thankfully reached the end of another edition of What in the World. I want to thank my co-host and executive producer and media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, Karen Hale. Thank you for everything you do for our podcast and the show. And go visit newclevelandradio.net to find out how to download us for free. Find us on YouTube and also all the other great podcasts that Karen has on the platform. You'll love it. You'll spend days and days listening to them. As always, I thank my old dear friend, John DiNallo from What in the World of Sports with John DiNallo. Thanks again for being knowledgeable and a good guy.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. And Karen, it's always
Congratulations on 3-0, by the way. Let's hope we
Yes.
bring some luck to the Guardians.
Can I retire from the competition?
Yes. Yes.
That way.
It-
Well, no,
I think
and
you
then
better.
it would-
Yeah, you better take a quick nappy for the baseball game.
You want
yeah, exactly. I want to try
a
to make
shield. I know. Now you want a shield and a trophy. Yeah,
This-
let's see if I can find a trophy that's
There you go. There
suitable
it is.
for this.
Oh my God. All right. Hey,
All right. Well,
go ahead,
I
Paul.
want to thank everybody out there for listening to the show, whether you're listening to us live in the future, watching us on YouTube, listening on a podcast. Thank you. You're the reason why we do this. I hope you have as much fun as we do every week on What in the World. And on that note, go Guardians, and we will see you next week on a regular day of Tuesday.
Bye, everybody.